I'm Al McFarlane. Welcome to the Conversation with Al McFarlane. I'm glad to be here and glad to have you along as well. Expecting a wonderful conversation, two very wonderful people. I'll call them new friends of mine, people that I admire for their work and for who they are and what they do. And I think you're going to feel the same way. Before we begin, I want to again invite you to support this work, the Conversation with Al McFarlane, by becoming a subscriber. How do you do that? Well, we're generating this content across several social media platforms, 2 YouTube channels, 3 Facebook channels, a couple of Twitter and LinkedIn accounts. So no matter how you're connecting, we want you to take a second to go over to YouTube Insight News MN. That's our YouTube channel. And there, simply subscribe, cost you nothing. Cost you a click. That's about it. And also like and share. We hope to build our audience, and we want to create a community that's local and national and global. People that talk to each other about things we feel are important. Well, let me start by introducing Brother Tierre Caldwell. And Brother Caldwell has a lot of things, a lot of roles that he plays. They include being a minister, a husband, a father. He's an author. He's a mentor. He's an advocate. He's an activist. He's also a spoken word artist and a leadership trainer. And he unites all those activities, those energies, with a commitment to, creating humanized or delivering humanization in human services. And he has an intention of fostering community wellness and driving systemic change. He specializes in delivering comprehensive rehumanization services to justice impacted and BIPOC individuals who are navigating the complexities of the justice system. Additionally, he's deeply involved in civic and social advocacy, particularly in the restoration of voting rights. Brother Caldwell has successfully contributed to the enabling of 55,000 formerly disenfranchised Minnesotans in their ability to regain their right to vote. And he's dedicated to preserving this fundamental democratic right for all citizens. Brother Caldwell, Brother Tierre, thank you so much for being here, and thank you for your work.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
And so talk about your book, first of all. Introduce us to your book and the reason you wrote it and the message in the book.
Thank you. I appreciate it. So the name of the book is called The Art of Sucker Duckin. It's a funny term, but to some people, but there's other people that definitely understand what it means. So the word sucker is actually an acronym. It stands for someone ultimately conspiring to kill everything righteous. And the word ducking is actually another acronym. It stands for demonstrating an understanding of conscious knowledge impervious to nothingness. The reason I wrote it is because I saw.
So do you see the world in acronyms? That's a pretty good construction of acronyms. Is that how you approach the world itself?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the name itself, it just kind of means sucker ducking means avoid negativity. But there's such a more profound meaning behind the term that I kind of wanted to just break it down in acronyms. Yep. And so the reason I actually wrote it was I noticed within my community and within even, people close to me, I saw far too many people losing their lives, losing their freedom, just based off of the people that they surrounded themselves with. And a lot of people I noticed couldn't, progress to the next level in life professionally, just based off of the circle that they kept. And so, I wanted to kind of present this book and do something to help people avoid toxic relationships and help people set healthy boundaries, which is very hard to do in some instances.
What's your training? How do you come to the knowledge that you seek to impart through this book and through the work you do in community?
Personal and self-development. I've been in that field for about a little over 10 years now, just training, and I like to call it rehumanizing people, being that I work with a lot of justice impacted individuals who are dehumanized. It's my job to rehumanize individuals and bring out the leadership that each and the personal power that each individual has within them.
What are the signs of dehumanization when you recognize that an individual's experiencing something that you would describe as dehumanization? What does that look like? What are the characteristics, the signs of that?
Just being denied, just being treated like an animal, especially in the work that I do with community corrections and the justice community. A lot of individuals who have served their sentence, who have paid their debt to society, once they re-enter back into society, they're still treated like animals, and they're reminded of the worst thing that, the worst mistake they've ever done. Instead of it kind of being a situation where people just were good people that made a bad mistake, people are just constantly reminded and re-traumatized and just treated like animals. And so it's my duty and my life's mission to treat people like human beings and never make people feel like they're animals. They're human beings.
How does the person experience that, what you've described as dehumanization? You say that persons outside of that person treat them like they're animals, not like they're human beings, but how does the person himself or herself experience life having to weather that kind of assessment as they navigate through their moment by moment?
Sure. If you're not strong enough, I've seen it kind of drive people right back and consistently keep the cycle of recidivism going. I've seen a lot of people break down who weren't strong enough, who just believed what they were called and what they were told about themselves in a negative light. And it's kind of in a lot of instances led back to people committing suicide, people going back to prison, or people just making poor choices in life.
Okay. And when you decided this was going to be your work, what were the factors that got you both thinking about and looking for employment or work opportunity to address these feelings and these observations, these concerns?
Yeah, so I also had a previous system involvement as well, and during that period of time, there was a program called the Power of People Leadership Institute with Dr. Verna and Shane Price, and they actually reached for me in one of my darkest hours, and I was actually able. And then after I kind of transitioned out of that phase with my system involvement, they actually reached for me, and they kind of saw something in me that kind of spoke to. They just let me know that the current occupation that I had at that time wasn't where I belonged, and everything kind of. I just haven't looked back since, and I kind of place myself in other individuals' shoes. And I kind of do it from the heart. And so.
Mhm. And so explain that to me. How does it happen? You meet somebody and your antenna probably are always up, right? You're assessing the spirit of people, the situations people are in, and probably always reading people's stories, whether they're aware of it or not, because you've got a story that has taught you and trained you and that is lifting you. And so when you see somebody or see a situation, what goes off in your mind, and how do you see yourself being an ally or intervener or a support or a mirror that can help somebody move towards her or his true self?
Right, exactly. So Keith Ellison told me, he said, everybody's better than the worst mistake they ever made in their lives. When I meet people, I try not to judge people based off of whatever background they may have, or whatever they've, gone through. My first approach is really to figure out what happened to you in your childhood, like nobody just wakes up and says, you know, I want to commit a crime or I want to do something wrong. And that's part of the humanizing situation. It's learning someone's trauma and actually taking the time to learn someone's trauma instead of judging them by their mistakes. I think if society at whole was judged by their mistakes only, it would be very difficult for a lot of people to, you know, be successful in life. And so I just try to just learn from people, man, and just place myself in that individual's shoes and, you know, learn what happened to them as a minor, as a teenager. So many of us are walking around with wounds that, you know, we weren't healed from as a child, which is in turn shaped how we view the world as an adult.
How was your childhood? What kind of childhood were you brought up in and through? Are you native of Minnesota?
Yes.
Okay. Now, talk about
Yeah.
your family. Who's Tierre Caldwell?
Absolutely. So I have a loving little sister. Her name is Tierre Caldwell. She's my rock, big supporter. Actually, let me rephrase that. She's Dr. Caldwell now.
Uh-huh.
And my mother, loving mother, her name's Simone Williams. We grew up not too far from George Floyd Square. And I had a loving family. I had a really loving family. There was just the male presence was absent.
Mhm.
And, you know, it's hard for a woman to try to raise a young man. And so I kind of gravitated towards the street, kind of in search of that camaraderie and that brotherhood. And, you know, that kind of led to poor decisions and the blind leading the blind. And that's kind of what led to the system involvement.
Mhm. And so, having come through that and having sort of declared your work of healing, you know, of restoration or of rehumanizing, what's the future? What are you looking to accomplish personally, and what do you want our society, our people to be? And before you answer that, as you're answering it, think about maybe a phrase or two or a page or two in your book. I'd love to hear you read a passage that you love, that you think gives people the extra insight into the message of the book. So, but yeah, think, what's the future for you and what's the future for us?
That's a great question. And, you know, the future for me, I would say, is I'm working on another book. It's called The Art of Rehumanization. And that's all I'm going to say for right now.
Okay.
But and you know, it's so central to life, because in this industry, and even outside of this industry, there are women in the workplace who are dehumanized. I mean, it's not just a justice impacted or corrections thing. There's different religions who are dehumanized. There's different races who are dehumanized. And so I think if everyone can come holistically and collectively and accept and receive people on a human basis instead of all of the labels and all of the stigmatisms, I think the world would be a better place. And that's kind of what my next project is going to set out to do.
So is there a chapter or a page or a phrase in your book that you direct people to right away?
It's actually a prayer, and it's the first page. It's the first page when you open the book. And it says,
Will you read it or say it?
yeah, I can read it.
Yeah.
Yep. It says, before you read this book, close your eyes and ask God to remove anybody or anything that doesn't belong in your life. Don't be surprised if in a short time you have fewer friends, become single, or undergo some type of personal change. It's all God doing him.
That's the message. We had some pictures, I think. Why don't we pull those up and you can kind of walk us through this little photo essay that we've got. It's always great to hear and see.
Sure.
Tell us what's going on here.
So this was actually the Restore the Vote bill being signed into law. And it was a result of the brother. You can't really see him, his face is kind of hidden. That's Shane Price. He's the co-founder of the Power of People Leadership Institute. And then that's Governor Waltz, and that's another friend of mine, Willie Lloyd, and and there's another brother, Brian Fullman. And all of these brothers have collectively helped, played a huge part in getting this bill passed. And it was so wonderful to finally see the efforts of our hard work after years and years of fighting to get this law passed and signed into law.
So describe the law. What's the what provision does the law provide to individuals who've come through the system?
Sure. So previously, once you were released from prison, you weren't able to actually vote until you've completed your stint on parole or probation. And I don't know if you know it or not, but Minnesota ranks the 5th highest in the nation with the number of people on parole. We keep people on parole for the longest. Like I said, we're ranked 5th in the nation. And so, because of that, a lot of people who were released, who were in the community, who were still on parole, who had long times on parole, they were unable to vote and they were unable to exercise their voice because of how the law currently existed. And so our fighting was, we're saying we're out, we paid our debt to society, we pay our taxes, we should be able to vote. And it's statistically proven that individuals who re-enter back into society and who, participate in civic engagement, they don't recidivate, meaning they don't go back to prison. Mm-hmm. And so it was just amazing. I'm still in awe that it actually got passed, but there's still a lot of work to do.
Well, I think it's being challenged as we speak. I think a judge, a district court judge, recently tried to invalidate the laws or the legislation. Is that correct? What's the status of that in the past 2 days?
Yes. So there's definitely another court date coming up. And there were a lot of people who were unhappy with the law being passed. They were fighting tooth and nail. I mean, to the bloody death to not have this law passed. Mm-hmm. And obviously it's because a lot of the people who were against it felt like that's 55,000 more people who can actually unseat me and take me out of my position. And so, and this is another picture here. Those are a lot of people from from the Power of People. Mm-hmm. Antonio Williams, he played a huge, huge role. There's Shane Price, Dr. Vernon Price, Eliza mm-hmm. Darris, Montez Franco, and Willie Lloyd again. It was just a great moment. The signing of that of the bill and the law.
Okay.
And this was actually so this is the Restore the Vote Coalition. Secretary of State Steve Simonson gave the Restore the Vote Coalition, which is made up of pretty much everybody who is in the previous pictures who's been helping organize and canvass and legislate. The Secretary of State actually gave us an award for our work for helping restore the right to vote in Minnesota. And that plaque that Eliza Darris is holding is that actual award. And we were given that earlier in the month of October.
Okay, that's amazing. And that's back to the first one we saw with the governor. Mm-hmm. Well, listen, this is great work. How does it make you feel to experience the success of working in the legislative arena and conceiving and getting a law passed that will change the lives of individuals who now can exercise their vote power, but also understanding that collective power can and will change the public policy and the laws of our state and the electeds? How's it make you feel?
It makes me feel, first of all, it makes me feel human. It makes me feel special, and it makes me feel human to make other people feel human. Who never thought there's a lot of individuals, thousands of individuals who don't even realize they can vote. They think because they've had a prior conviction that they can never vote for the rest of their lives. And so a lot of it starts with education and, kind of motivating individuals to actually get involved in this civic participation. We're actually having a new voter rally with the Power of People Leadership Institute at the Capri Theater on October 28th. And yeah, man, I suggest if anyone has time, definitely come through. And if you know any new voters, we definitely are looking to get them registered, and just try to keep this work flowing.
Awesome. Listen, hang out for a bit. I want to bring my next guest in, and at the end of the program, have all three of us together, just chopping it up. Irene Sosa is a documentary maker from Caracas, Venezuela, living and working in this country since 1983. She's a professor at the City University of New York, Brooklyn College, the Department of Television, Radio, and Emerging Media, and Puerto Rican and Latino Studies Department. She's working on an interactive documentary about the media activist Didi Halleck, and working on a short art video photos, as well. In 2019, her work was highlighted in the retrospective of Nancy Spero, which is Paper Mirror, in the Rufino Tamayo in Mexico City, and in MoMA PS1. Sosa has been the recipient of various grants and awards, including an individual artist fellowship from the New York Foundation for the Arts, a fellowship from the Andrea Frank Foundation, an individual artist grant from New York State Council for the Arts. She's also received 5 PSC CUNY Research Awards, as well as a Brooklyn College Creative Achievement Award, and 2 Claire and Leonard Toe Faculty Research Travel Fellowships. Her videos have been shown at the Museo de Bellas Artes in Caracas, Centro Cultural Chacao, I think it is, at Exit Art, at Festival du Films sur l'Art Montreal, and the Chicago Art Institute, the University of Illinois, American Center in Paris, the Museum of Modern Art, MoMA in New York, WNYC, Channel 31 in New York, the Center for Georges Pompidou, Paris, in France, and other international venues. Irene, welcome to the conversation. I invited you to talk about whatever you want to talk about, but the name that comes up is the Esther Duran, and the real, I guess the notes here say the real sister of the Diaspora Film Festival that's being organized to celebrate her life. Welcome, good afternoon, bienvenido. And you have to unmute, Irene, hit the mute button.
Yeah. We'll never learn soon. This communication system. First of all, we, and I'll tell you who we want to thank you very much for your wonderful interview on our beloved friend Esther Duran. Esther Duran was a Venezuelan-born film and video maker. She was an anthropologist too. Her undergrad degree was in anthropology. And we have the terrible thing that she died in spring of 2003 after a very short fight with a very rare kind of cancer. Mm-hmm. And it went very fast. She was in your program, I think, in November 1 or November 3, 2022. And we want to thank you because we used in your interview as her last speech to her friends and family and the world. And so we really appreciated the interview because in the interview that you did, she kind of show all or a lot of some of the wonderful talents that she has.
Mhm.
And one of the most important attribute that I would like to point out today is that she was a great thinker.
Mm.
She was a person that was always questioning what was going on in society. She was very cultivated. She was curious about so many things,
Mhm.
and a lot of us miss her. Um, yeah, her way of thinking. And your interview really brings that up. Her generosity in talking about the work of the other guests in your show, her philosophical worries about media and politics. So that's one of the things that we want to bring. When I say we, I'm representing Esther friends and families,
Mhm.
especially her family, of course, and David Rangeli, Miranda Rangeli, and Marcelo Rangeli, and and her friends, especially because for Esther having friends, Esther was an only child,
Mm.
so she struggled all her life to create families for her kids, and I'm part of that group. And especially, I would like to mention a group that became very, very tight in trying to help her during her sickness. And that group was called Esther 2023, and it's Tania Cipriano, Ileana Montalvo, Susana Aikin, Carolina Brito, Berta Jotar, Camila Mota, Clara Irazábal, Maricusa González, I think,
Mhm.
Estepi Malaquiades, Omar Cabezas, Silvana Vasconcelos, um, people all over the world that we were always trying to help each other in this terrible tragedy. But I want to also say that we is all the people that Esther touched during her lifetime, which were a lot of us. But I just want to mention these people because we are all organizing. We having a tribute to her as part of the Real Sister of the Diaspora Film Festival that is
Mhm.
happening this way. A big thank and a wonderful part of Esther's life is Caroline Butt, which is she's the director and the soul behind the Real Sister Film Festival. And also, I would like to mention that she's giving me notes in the fund. A big shout out to Luisa de la Ville that is producing the event and is being organizing a live in terms of trying to get our tribute together for Sunday. Luisa de la Ville is a Venezuelan producer, and it's being an honor to me working with her because she's really an amazing producer. So we have everybody on time, everything is very organized. So that's one thing that I would like to mention. And then I would like to talk about some other things. Thank you.
Keep talking. I'm just so
Okay.
pleased that I had the opportunity to engage with her, and it blows me away that the conversation that we had is now one that you and her friends and family are able to use to keep the energy, the work, and the celebration and the attitude both vibrant and living. And so I'm so happy to learn about that. And I thank you and thank all of you for, so I want to get into how do friendships like that work? What is the mission? What is the purpose of us being with us? Why is it important that you have created these bonds and that the bonds are bigger than words? Uh, they include words, they include action, they include love, they include power. And as you think about that as an artist or a documentarian, what are you looking to explore in human beings that
Mhm.
is represented in this conversation about Esther Duran?
Well, one thing that it was very much a very big part of Esther persona in the last 30 years is that she was an immigrant. So we all immigrated to this country. I think she immigrated maybe 30 years ago. Um, and that was a big conversation of us all the time. How do we feel? And there is something really important in humans, and it's the sense of belonging. And
Mhm.
so we always trying to find feeling that we belong to a place. And for Esther, and I think I come from a 8 kids family, so and I also, I have an extended family. Esther have a very short extended family, and she was an only child on her mother's side. On her father's side, though, she was the daughter of a very famous Colombian filmmaker. His name it was Ciro Duran, and her family in Colombia. She has her stepmother and 3 wonderful brothers and sisters. So she will share her life in the summer. She will go and spend time with her family in Colombia and in Venezuela. Then, but I think her being was she always felt like an only child. So she for her was very important to build a family, to feel that she belonged to a place. And what happened is a lot of a close friend or family happen all to be immigrants. She have a lot of friends that are not immigrant, but a lot of are immigrant. And instead, we had a lot of discussion about being. I had a film called Sexual Exiles, and she helped me to think about the film. And we all felt like an exiles. And even I have a quote, if I can find it, a quote of Esther that say, "An exile is a constant feeling of self-consciousness."
Mm.
So that sense, so she built this family around her and her own family to be able to create her own place in the world because we miss our country very much. And then, so you did an amazing segment on her work in Chocolatico in the search of the chocolate conquest through the Chocolatito TV website. And it was a way for her to go back and, you know, get into the roots. And I have some photos, I don't know if Cooper
Let's
have
look at
them,
the photo. Yeah,
where you
maybe
can see
they.
her smiling, while she's producing this. This is a photo of this part of this group of friends that I mentioned. That's Tania Cipriano, Susana Aikin, Esther, and Ileana Montalvo. And this is Friendships of New York from 30 years ago. And she organized. The problem is she used to organize the parties. So now we're completely lost. We haven't been able to make a dinner together porque, we're really. So this is a group of people we met in New York one night just to celebrate being friends. She was always, organizing, getting together with friends and which I consider family. We were this group especially were all filmmakers. We all were always talking about supporting each other's project and
Mm.
talking politics and you know that kind of thing.
Yeah, others.
Um,
Yeah.
this is a photo of her recording a demonstration, Venezuelan, political demonstration. Because one thing that Esther did, for example, we all got locked down during COVID. Her son was at college. Her other daughter was living out of there. And she started feeling very depressed. So we did some Zoom socializing. And then she decided to use a very good mask, and go and cover the demonstration for Black Lives Matter.
Mm.
And before that, she had been working with a group trying to bring down the Columbus statues in New York,
Mm-hmm.
an indigenous organization in defense of indigenous
Mm-hmm.
rights. She did. So she will go to the demonstration that we all go to the demonstration, but then she will shoot, go back home and edit. And in that website, which is called Visuals for People, anybody can download that footage and use it for their own project. So part of the idea of Esther documenting all these political activities was to give the footage to other people in other cities could use it free of charge. They just download it. And so that's what's Esther. Like, this is the problem that I have, and this is how I'm going to solve it. So that's a work that we admire a lot, and we want to try to, make other people know that this work exists in the web.
Okay.
This is her family. This is the last party that we went together, and this is Miranda Rangeli, her daughter, Marcelo Rangeli, her son, and this is me dancing. She was a great dancer, and so I just wanted to include the photo. This is the life of her life. This is her beautiful and talented and wonderful kids, and so
Awesome.
that's because they're grown up. I have other photo, but they're babies, and then this, as you can see, that was at 2:00 in the morning in Williamsburg, and we were all dancing. So we got along very well.
Sure. Okay. And this shot?
And this shot, she worked a lot as a script supervisor, and I think this might be the shoot of her father. Feature film, very early, I want to say 1980s, I don't know, 1989. And she was the script supervisor for her father's film, and the name just escaped. And so it's her looking through the camera to make notes. This is a 35 millimeter RE camera. So it's a very professional equipment.
Okay. Oh, it's nice.
This is during the production of Chocolate Conquest, and one of the little town where she worked, you have to go by boat. So they was transporting to go by boat. This is her being gorgeous. She's in the set. I think it's in her father film set, where she worked as a script supervisor. She edited a very important movie that was called Nobody Listened. And it was the director was Nestor Almendros, and it's about gay and lesbians in Cuba. And well, but then I would like. So this is her moderating a panel for the Real Sister of the Diaspora Film Festival. So when in her 4 years working with Caroline Butts, she curated around 300 films, and she was really good at having the filmmaker discussions in the community, and she loved doing it, and she was really good at it. So we have some photos of, and that's something that she explained in your video last year, and is that for the festival, it's really important, as much as they can, to bring the filmmakers to the community and have a dialogue with the community. And Esther was really good, and she did a lot of this moderating the filmmakers in the community, which this year are going to be done by two other, by the curators, the other curator, which one of those curators is Luisa de la Villa. And I want to do a little bit of, Luisa also has a very important project that is it's called The Children of Las Brisas. And Luisa and her crew follow 3 musicians for the orchestra system in Venezuela. We have a very famous symphonic orchestra system that educate musicians. So it's like very famous. The very famous, a lot of very famous musicians. So they follow these people, and they having a screening on The 24th, October 24th here in New York. So I just want to do this little
Sure, sure,
thing
sure, sure.
for Luisa. So she's going to be moderating some of the show. And the festival this year have an amazing list of film. The
The
main event,
festival's this weekend, right? This weekend?
the main events for the festival are going to happen this weekend,
Mhm.
21st and 22nd, Saturday and
Okay.
Sunday. And Sunday at 1 o'clock is the tribute of the film festival for Esther at 1 o'clock. We want to try to stream it. So if we organize the streaming well, then I will send a link to everybody that might be interested. But the lineup of films this year is quite fantastic. So it's 2 days, and then they have I think a closing night on November 9th.
Mhm.
And the festival, they try to do a lot of different events in different
Sure.
community around the main 2 days festival in City Tech. It's going to be this year in City Tech in Brooklyn, New York. And
Okay.
the sorry, I didn't send the website is realsisters.org.
Okay.
REEL sisters.org. I'm terrible spelling.
Awesome. Awesome. Let me take a break, and we'll come back and bring you and Brother Tierre back in and just have a little roundtable conversation. Thank you so much, Irene Sosa. What a
Thank you, Al.
wonderful conversation. I'm Al McFarlane. This is the Conversation with Al McFarlane. Check this message out, and we'll come right back. Are you or someone you know recovering financially from the COVID-19 pandemic, the lockdown, or any other reason? If so, help is available. Findhelp.org is a site to find a wide range of resources, including food, medical care, and more. The best part is based on your zip code. Visit findhelp.org, enter your zip code and the service you need. You'll get a map directing you to the organizations that can help you. Help is waiting at findhelp.org. If you need help starting anew, findhelp.org is the site for you. I'm Al McFarlane. Welcome to the Conversation with Al McFarlane. A great conversation with two creative human beings, Irene Sosa and Tierre Caldwell. And thank you both for being here. You know, I always try to find the intersection where our lives touch. And I have this sense that you both are guardians of our humanity, and that the work that you do, both in documentation and in rehumanizing, is work that respects the gift of life and the giver of life and the presence of the power of being alive, and that you both have a broad mission and vision of recognizing the ownership of that property by every human being, and maybe even beyond the relationship between us and the rest of nature as well. And so, Irene, I asked Tierre this earlier, where do you see us going as community? Given the work, big question, right? Where do we go as community? What is your dream, your vision of what we can and should become as the best human beings we can be?
I'm going to call your program. That's intense. That's what my friend Esther said to you and the co-host when you asked her a question of this caliber. This is intense. Well, where do we start?
Mm-hmm.
So I've been thinking, and I was thinking when Tierre was talking. We don't know where we're going, but I'm very sad of the world that we're living in. I never imagined in 1968, when I was 14 years old, that we were going to live in such a mess. I teach in Brooklyn College, and Brooklyn College, part of City University of New York, is a college that have a lot of, it's very diverse. It might be one of the most diverse universities in the world. And it happened to have, a lot of students in this specific week, from the two extremes of what is going on with this terrible war in Palestine and the Middle East. So it's being an absolutely crazy week. But I think a word keep on coming to me as is empathy. We have to develop empathy. And I was listening to a podcast the other day that said you can teach empathy. Empathy can be taught. And only the real, psychopath won't learn. But in general, we can teach empathy. And when I hear Tierre talk, you think about empathy. Try to put yourself in somebody else's shoes. And then maybe we can find a way to dialogue. Maybe we can find a common principle in which we can build up our friendship and understanding of each other's world. And the word that here, that is just incredible in terms of this humanization of people that just carrying a little bit of marijuana in their pocket. So, that is also, we're not talking criminals. A huge percentage of, here might know, of the carcelarian is innocent people that happen to do something stupid when they were very young. And in that, I agree with Pierre. It's crazy. And this is a subject matter that is affect all of us at the micro level. So we have that micro, and then we have this war when people are using language in a certain way that is very difficult to communicate. So, we having titles in certain TV channels that say anti-Israeli demonstration in Times Square. No, they're pro-Palestinian demonstration in Times Square. Right. They're supporting the people in Palestine. They're not supporting the extremes. So let's say, let's talk about what we can unify ourselves. And I say that here with the problems with people left prison and they never, they didn't. They keep, the system keep on oppressing them. And the same thing we find with everything else, with climate change, with these incredible cruel wars that are going on in the world. And we can say, stop, let's find a common thing that we can talk.
Tierre, let me ask you to jump in here. Do you approach your work and give a sense of a world view? And I was going to ask you, have you traveled around the country, around the world? What experiences do you have that give you a sense of knowing human beings wherever human beings exist? Maybe it's just books, maybe it's TV, maybe it's theater. I don't know. But what's your experience?
Yeah, nice question. And so, I've actually traveled to London, and when I went to London, I've been there many times. That's where my wife is actually from, and I actually visited a reentry organization in London, and I got a chance to actually speak with them and kind of learn how they approach their rehumanization strategy, we'll call it. And it's completely different. I mean, their police don't carry guns. Like when their police meet people, I remember when I went to London, and this was right in the height of George Floyd, and I told them I was from Minnesota, and they were, their eyes just got so big, and it was a weird conversation I had. I told them that unfortunately police killings are normal here, and it's every other day it happens, but it's not supposed to be normal. And that was a huge, like when I speak of police brutality to somebody overseas across the pond, like it's not even a concern. They don't have to train their children on how to survive a traffic stop. They don't have to explain to their significant other how to keep both hands to their side, or where they're visible, at a traffic stop. Like, these are things that, people just don't have to worry about on that side of the world. And then just their whole approach towards reentry, like, they treat you like human beings. And that kind of goes back to, if you treat somebody for an animal long enough, that's what they'll believe. I mean, we have such a misrepresentation of self. A lot of individuals haven't been taught like who they really are at the core of self. They haven't been taught their history. They've been stripped away from their culture. They have zero idea about who they are at the core of self. And so what they're given is these false images of who they're supposed to be. And that plays a significant role with the humanization process. If your oppressor can control the imagery that you see of yourself and control your history about yourself, they can tell you about yourself. And if you don't know any better, you'll believe that. Mm-hmm. And so that's a large part of what I also do is I also try to insert a lot of history, especially for people of color, specifically young Black African-American men. I let them know that, we came from kings. We didn't it wasn't just slavery. Our history is a lot more deeper than Martin Luther King and Malcolm X, and then that's it, Barack Obama. Our history is a lot more deep and a lot more rich, and it dates back to the ancient times. But, we would never be taught that. And I think when you can actually teach someone that they ascended from kings, it could kind of alter the trajectory of their lives in a certain type of way.
So the challenge not only is to encourage people to show up and to learn how to show up as their authentic self, as the potential that exists within them, show up both with the gift and as a gift, show up in a way that is committed to, are always in the process of self-actualization, always becoming, right? That's part of the challenge. But then how do you do that and at the same time address the ill-intentioned institutional robbers of your dignity, your history, your story, and your gift? How do you resist exploitation? And how do you change the exploiter? How do you respond to, the work has to be not only to protect and nurture oneself, but also to go upstream where the problem originates and try to fix it. And to me, that means in part fixing other human beings who have decided on a path away, a strategy that disadvantages and disregards my humanity or the humanity of other people. Irene, as you travel the world as a documentarian and a filmmaker, and how do you see the alignment of power in our society? So I raise this question. Right now, the patriarchic arrangement wholesale diminishes half the population of the planet. Structural disadvantage in the name of patriarchy. Is there another way? Is there another system that reflects and nurtures balance, justice, and fairness? What do you think, Irene? ¿Qué piensas?
Qué intenso. Well, there is hope. Humanity always entails hope. And I think it must be a better system to live. This one didn't work. and that's it's been proven. Capitalism didn't feel, didn't make the planet better, didn't make human beings better. We kind of, capitalism is destroying we are in the last few hours,
Mm.
you know, if you think the big, big picture. So capitalism didn't work. And I think we need to come out with somehow a more humane. I happen to think that socialism is the way. And I happen also to think that we haven't have any socialist system in the world. You know, we have couple of countries that try, but the world didn't allow them to develop, fully economically. I think culturally, but economically they ruined them economically. But I think we need to find a way for a better world. This one didn't work. That's proven. We have hundreds of wars, and in terms of the whole humanity, I think women could be better, you know, um, managing the world, but not in the capitalist system. I think pat, patriarchy, capitalism, racism, misogyny, all that is a package. It's very difficult to separate one from the other. So I think the big ill is capitalism, and then you come down one to one. We have terrible models of women leadership. Margaret Thatcher was a woman. We have quite a few examples. We have of bad, representation of certain groups that are terrible. And Margaret Thatcher was, and I can mention some other one, but she's I think a big one. And we know we have good example of bad, of people that supposed to represent that. So yesterday the students at this specific moment in my college, students are taking action, are getting organized, are taking action and trying to talk to the administration and trying to find a solution out of this problem. The youth, the workers are going to change the world. And I think the youth is getting very organized, even it doesn't seem like. A lot of the struggle for the voting rights of everybody is being led by a lot of young people. So we need to give them the credit, the inspiration, and to keep doing that work. I think young people need to take
more action. Tierre, I've got a suggestion for the next level for the work of restoring voting rights. I would love to see voting, registration, and active voting as a condition of leaving the justice system, so that part of your way out of being, for whatever reason, you're incarcerated, that one of the things that helps you get out is by voting, civic participation, exercising, understanding your responsibility for the making of the entire apparatus through the power of your vote. Well, listen, this has been such a wonderful conversation. I can give you 10 seconds each. Final thought, inspiration, idea. Tierre, go with you first.
I just appreciate the opportunity. Irene, it was great sharing this space with you. And Al, it's always a pleasure. Definitely keep us in your prayers, keep God first. And thank you guys.
Irene, final comments?
Well, I forgot to tell you that today will have been Esther's 62nd birthday. So we all are very moved. So we're celebrating her life in your program that you already help us to celebrate so much. Big admiration to your program, Al. Please keep doing it. I'm going to try to get more people to do it. Thank you. We need people like you in the airwaves to try to clean up a little bit the media mess. Please come to the Real Film. Check out our website of the Real Sister Festival. We have some of the films and some of the events are streamed via in the internet, please, please, please come. Thank you, Luisa, for organizing this. And thank you, Carol Bus, for organizing this. Thank you all for having this program. And please, keep doing it. Thank you
and
very, very much. You had a
thank
great
you.
interviewer. I really, really love
Well,
your
thank you.
interviews.
Thank you so much. Well, my thanks to both of you, Irene Sosa and Tierre Caldwell. And thank you for listening, for tuning in, for checking us out. We'll be back next time, and we're looking to have you with us as well. I'm Al McFarlane. This is The Conversation with Al McFarlane.